John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another day of Eldritch Moon spoilers. So today we have 10 brand new cards to take a look at. In addition to that, we also have the game day playmat, so we'll get a glimpse at that. And we also have the rest of the tokens. So earlier in the week we saw an Eldrazi Horror. Today we actually got to look at all the other tokens in the set. So let's jump in and see what we got for today. We're going to start off with the playmat. So if you go to your LGS on game day, playing the tournament, and you win, you'll get this playmat, which I think the art's actually pretty awesome. I know the feeling about Liliana's card was a little hit or miss, but I think the art is pretty awesome. I think everyone pretty much agrees on that. So the playmat looks very, very nice. And let's move on to the tokens. We have 4 zombie tokens. 3 of them are 2/2 zombie tokens. 1 is a star. We have a human wizard in blue, 1/1. We have a human in red, 1/1. We have a spider token in green with reach, 1/2. And then, of course, we have the Liliana emblem. And finally, the Tamiyo emblem. All right, let's move on to the cards for the day. And the first one is Courageous Outrider, a white and 3 human scout, 3/4. And when this enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a human card from them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, we've been talking all week, well, 2 weeks now, about all these amazing cards coming out for white and green, especially, and those have been the dominant colors in Standard. Now, looking at a card like this, this is an okay card, but it's definitely not the caliber of card that's going to make it into one of those decks. I mean, there's so many great cards to choose from. This gives you a little bit of dig for another human, but really at 4 mana, it's just not enough to make it into Standard and be really economical, at least in this aggressive Standard format that we're seeing. But this will be fantastic in Limited. This is a great Limited card. It's going to allow you to dig and keep threats coming, and I wouldn't even mind running a couple of these in my deck as long as I had enough targets for it to hit. Next, we have a card that was spoiled from a Chinese simplified language spoiler, and loosely translated, we'll call it Working Together. 2 white and 1. It's a sorcery. It has Escalate. The Escalate cost is tap an untapped creature you control, and the 3 modes are destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, or destroy target enchantment, and then finally put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. And this one's a rare. So talking about great white cards, here's another one. This one's very, very good. And like I said, at some point there's a breaking point of saturation where which one of these cards will actually make it into these amazing decks. So this one is very good though, and what makes this good is the Anthem effect. Now the other 2 pieces are okay too, but obviously they're not always going to be relevant. But later in the game, you have some extra tokens or extra creatures that you just want to tap, and you can get some extra value to get rid of an enchantment or a large creature on your opponent's side, then this card can do that too. Even if it doesn't always come into play, it's just kind of nice to know you have that in your back pocket. Now, because of that, I do think we'll see Standard play in the future as some cards start to cycle out of the Standard rotation that are part of this deck. This might even see more play, but it is a very good card. It's very strong. And again, this will be great for you in Limited as well. Next, we have a card that was a Spanish language spoiler, and it is Sigarda's Blessing, a white for the casting cost. It's an enchantment. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So first off, I will say this. It's not quite along the same lines as, say, Stoneforge Mystic, because it's not a tutor. But if you have equipment in your hand, this is very, very good. And it's not a huge commitment. It's a 1-drop. Just costs 1 to put it down. And then at that point, it really makes your opponent have to think about combat quite a bit, because you can just simply bluff that you can drop equipment at instant speed and attach it to something. That's actually very, very powerful. This is a fantastic card. I feel like this maybe even could have been Mythic, although it is a 1-drop. It's kind of a simple card. Maybe it feels a little too simple for Mythic, but it is a good rare and a very, very strong card. I think this is also kind of a nod to what's coming in the future. I think we already know the next block is going to have a lot of artifacts and probably a lot of equipment. So this card is only going to get better in the future, but I do think it may be good enough to see Modern play currently, and then perhaps Standard play in the future within the next coming year. Olivia's Dragoon. 1 black and 1. This is a Vampire Berserker. 2/2. Discard a card. Olivia's Dragoon gains flying till end of turn. To me, this is a good limited card. It's a great discard outlet. It's going to help enable your madness, especially in those red-black builds of vampires. I don't really see it crossing over into standard or anything like that, but very, very fine limited card. Next we have Imprisoned in the Moon. So I guess we found out what happened to Emrakul. 1 blue and 2. It's an enchantment aura. This is a rare. And enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with tap to add colorless mana to your mana pool, and it loses all other card types and abilities. Okay, let's digest this for a second. This is removal for blue. Now, blue has had lots of quasi removal that is contingent upon stuff over the last few years, but this one is just the most definitive one, I think, and this is quite good at 3 mana. It's doing something that blue has trouble doing, dealing with creatures, dealing with lands, dealing with planeswalkers. Now, blue has been very watered down in recent history. Of course, it was the strongest color in Magic for many, many years, especially at the beginning of the game, and then trying to equal things out, Wizards kind of nerfed blue a little bit. They gave some of its abilities to other colors in the color pie, and I think they realized eventually they watered it down a little too much. Blue just hasn't been really competitive for a very long time now. Maybe this is a step in the right direction to start to bring blue up and give it some different things. Granted, I don't think they like to give it like really powerful counter magic, so maybe they're trying to do some different ideas, which is fine as long as they can kind of bring blue up to the level of the other colors. The biggest strike against this card is simply what deck do you put it in, right? And there probably are some builds where you could splash blue for something like this, and I'm sure someone will brew it and probably come up with something in standard for this. But yeah, the card's amazing. This will see play in modern. It might even make legacy play potentially. Being blue doesn't hurt it in that regard. Also great for cubes and for commander too. Next we have a card that was a Italian language spoiler, and this is Mausoleum Wanderer. Costs a blue. It's a spirit with flying, 1/1. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, this gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Sacrifice it to counter target instant or sorcery unless its controller pays X, where X is its power. This is an interesting card, another actually decent blue card. The only thing is I don't know where this belongs in the current meta, so I don't really think it's going to cross over into standard right now. But it is a great limited card if you have some spirits to kind of play along with it. It's almost like a spirit prowess. So you play some spirits, this thing can get in for some damage, it has flying, it's really cheap, there's not a huge commitment for it. So I like this in limited. I think it will definitely shine there. Noose Constrictor, a green and 1. This is a 2/2 snake with reach. Discard a card. It gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So this is an uncommon, and obviously it's probably going to remind a lot of you of Wild Mongrel. Wild Mongrel was an amazing card many years ago, back when Madness first premiered, and it comboed obviously extremely well with Madness, and there were some very powerful Madness cards back in those days. Well, Madness cards maybe aren't as powerful today as they were then, but this is still a good card. This is going to be very, very good, and I'm sure somebody's going to brew around this and try to make some crazy deck in standard, and who knows, it may take. But even if not, this is still a very good card that can just slide into even an Eclectic Company build, or just a lot of different things you'll be doing out there to just make your Madness cards that much better. From what we've been seeing, a lot of the discard outlets, for the most part, are really paying costs more than anything. This is one that's actually upside. So I'm discarding the card, hopefully paying Madness, getting some sort of value out of it, but then my creature is also getting bigger for the turn as well. So there's a lot you can do with this. This is a fantastic card. It will see play definitely in standard. I think it will see modern play. It's cheap enough, it does enough that it will get there in some way, shape, or form. And again, fantastic for Unlimited. Next we have a card that was a Japanese language spoiler, and this was Stunning Growth. 1 green and 3 as a sorcery. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this is definitely a combo generating card. Probably will shine the most though in Commander, where you have the most ability to kind of play a little slower and mess around with some crazy combos. It will be awesome in Commander. I think it'll be a lot of fun there. As far as other formats, I think costing 4 and having the lands come into play tap are going to restrict it a little bit from places where it could be good, like potentially Legacy or even Modern. But I do think that it does have some potential to combo with the Gitrog monster. Now, the only thing is, current meta for Standard, if I was playing a deck with Gitrog and this, I don't know if that's going to be quite fast enough, but maybe if this is just kind of a side plan to a Collective Company deck, maybe it becomes a little better. I don't know. I have to kind of test that out and see. So there's potential that this could see some Standard play. If not now, maybe post-rotation. But it's definitely an interesting card nonetheless. Next we have Wolfkin Bond. 1 green and 4, and this is an aura. It gives a creature +2/+2, and you get a 2/2 green wolf token on the battlefield. Now this kind of feels like a watered down Nightly Valor, and if you kind of remember that card, there's been limited formats where it's very, very, very good, and there's some that it doesn't feel as good. For example, the first time it was printed, it was very strong, maybe even first pickable in draft. When it came back in Magic Origins, it kind of felt like, well, it's too slow for this format. So as long as it's not a super fast format, I don't think this will be. This will be a fine limited card. Now, if it is a fast format, well, then it won't be a fine limited card. But aside from that, I don't really see it getting much play outside limited, but I think it will be good there. And our last preview of the day is Heron's Grace Champion. It's a white and green and 2. It's a human knight, 3/3, has flash and lifelink, and when this enters the battlefield, other humans you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until end of turn. Another amazing white and green card, right? Well, the only thing about this card though is, like I said earlier, there's just so many good cards to choose from that a lot of the good cards probably still won't make the cut. I mean, maybe this is a one of in some decks, perhaps in Standard, but I think the biggest strike this has going against it is it costs 4, so it doesn't interact well with Collected Company. If it did, this would probably be nuts, but even if it was maybe like 3 casting costs for 2/2 and it had these abilities, that would probably be amazing. But I think the 4 kind of pushes it to a place where it's competing with cards like Gazella, for example, at the 4 slot. So I don't know. Like I said, I think it will see some Standard play, don't get me wrong, but I think it will be relatively limited, at least at this point. It's going to be great for you in limited play, though. Awesome in draft as well as sealed for sure. So before we go, though, I got one more thing to show you, and it is the promo version of this. So this was also revealed today, and it's the game day. I believe this is the top 8 promo you get if you make the top 8 for game day. It has different art, and it's the full art card. Having said that, those are the spoilers for today, and that's going to actually be our last Eldritch Moon spoiler video, because even though there's still about 100 cards left or so to see, they're all going to drop tomorrow, and they're going to reveal the full set. So once they do that, we'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to start reviewing the full set with all the white cards, and we'll touch on some of the multicolor cards as well. And as we move through the week, we'll go color by color till we get through the entire set. So until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.